post-cabinet press briefing. To lead us in our discussions, let me invite the chairperson of this session, Dr. Msweli, Honorable Minister, to present today's cabinet highlights. Honorable Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Chief Secretary, Dr. Martin Bushwaya. Members of the Fourth Estate, Cabinet received the report on the food deficit mitigation strategy, the urban cash transfer program, and the movement of grain as presented by the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Honorable July Moyo. The second phase of the Blitz grain distribution has now gained momentum as food insecure beneficiaries continue to receive their 3 months grain supply. To date, a total of 31,000 metric tons of grain has been distributed, and schools have commenced collection of food for emergency school feeding program. A total of 139,850 grain upper middle income economy by the year 2030. The 5 strategic themes for the health workforce strategy are as follows: education, training and development, deployment, utilization and governance, retention and migration management, monitoring and evaluation, ICT and research, and planning and financing. The education, training and development pillar seeks to align all health worker training programs with health sector needs, increase annual training outputs from 3,334 in 2022 to at least 7,000 by the year 2030, to professionalize and integrate community health workers into the main workforce, and to refurbish and expand training schools infrastructure, to remunerate in terms of the government modalities under the health workforce retention and migration management pillar, and the aim is to reduce the attrition rate by the year 2030. The health workforce monitoring, evaluation, ICT and research pillar aims to strengthen the health workforce management information system, to digitalize the health workforce management systems, and to strengthen health workforce research to inform the decision-making processes. The health workforce planning and financing pillar seeks to increase per capita investment in health from the current USD $9 to at least US $32, with a long-term goal of US $55 per capita. Key strategic interventions include increasing domestic resources mobilization and aligning investments in health workforce by government, the private sector, and the development partners. Cabinet considered and approved the report on the public service job evaluation exercise as presented by the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Honorable July Moyo. In February 2023, the Public Service Commission conducted a job evaluation exercise across 21 government line ministries, and the purpose of the exercise was to establish the composition and value of jobs and functions across the ministries. The key findings of the evaluation exercise were advancement via grade system, the implementation of the principles of job evaluation, and that a job must maintain its grade throughout its lifetime unless the job duties have changed to warrant regrading. Functional duplications and overlaps in roles within and across line ministries, the duties and jobs of chief directors and directors being identical, which situation must render one of the jobs redundant, more managerial jobs than non-managerial jobs, the prevalence of dead-end jobs for specialists. The findings of the job evaluation will result in the review of manning levels across all line ministries at national and subnational levels, the rationalization of staff, upskilling and reskilling of members, the adoption of a new compensation framework, salary structure to conform with the principle of equal pay for equal work. Consultations are now underway for optimization and rationalization of the findings, with a view to aligning structures to Vision 2030. Cabinet received and approved the report on ICT for disaster risk management as presented by the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Professor Amon Muruira, who is also the chairman of the Cabinet Committee on Innovation, Development and Application. Zimbabwe, like many other countries, face various types of natural and climate-induced hazards such as floods, droughts, cyclones, earthquakes, and disease outbreaks. Information technology is advancing rapidly, making it possible to map space, identify and analyze data before, during, and after a disaster in detail and also in real time. The government of Zimbabwe mooted the ICT for Disaster Risk Management Initiative in response to the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the cyclone Idai, El Nino-induced drought in the 2023-2024 farming season, and other past disasters and disease outbreaks. The initiative is also in line with regional and international conventions, which Zimbabwe is party to, and requires the country to steer ICT sector initiatives in disaster risk management. Cabinet underscores that the ICT for Disaster Risk Management Initiative supports, adopts and integrates its information and communication technologies for disaster risk management in order to enhance disaster mitigation, preparedness and recovery through rapid communication and information sharing, early warning systems, remote sensing and GIS mapping, data collection and analysis, public awareness and education, and coordination and collaboration before, during, and after the disaster. Cabinet received reports on progress made in the implementation of priority projects for the second 100-day cycle of 2024, as presented by the Ministers of Energy and Power Development and the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development. The Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development highlighted the following achievements in terms of projects under his purview. The construction of the Midland State University Kwekwe Law School is at 79% in terms of completion. The construction of the Bindura University of Science and Education and the National Biotechnology in Zarabani Masao Value Addition Plant is at 68%. The construction of the Lupane State University, the Bingwa Wildlife Ecotourism Innovation and Industrial Park is at 88% in terms of completion. The construction of the Great Zimbabwe University Chini Center for Dryland Agriculture is at 56%. The Manicaland State University of Applied Sciences Wildlife Fencing Project for Agro-Innovation and Industrial Park is at 60% in terms of completion. And 100 people were trained under the Integrated Skills Expansion Outreach Program. The Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Edgar Moyo, highlighted the following achievements in terms of projects under his purview: the Lipasi Community Solar Project in Beitbridge District, Matabeleland South Province, is at 95% in terms of completion. The Muchavi Grid Project in Kai District, Matabeleland North Province, is at 99% in terms of completion. The Matsetsa Project in Bohera District, Manicaland Province, is at 99% in terms of completion. The Dete Community Solar Project in Urungwe District, Mashonaland West Province, is at 90% in terms of completion. And the Great Zimbabwe Hydropower Station is at 90% in terms of completion. Cabinet received an update on the preparations of the 29th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to be held in Azerbaijan from the 11th to the 22nd of November 2024 at the Expo City, and the report on the Carbon Credit Symposium that was held on the 19th of August 2024. The reports were presented by the Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife, Honorable Dr. S.G. Nyoni. As part of the roadmap to COP29, the Ministry of Environment, Climate and Wildlife will constitute an interministerial and cross-sectorial delegation based on the diversity of topics to be negotiated and, in some cases, experience in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and will organize a national pre-COP29 conference. The ministry attended the 10th special session of the African Ministerial Conference on Environment and the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification COP16 regional consultation that was held in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire from the 30th of August to the 6th of September 2024. COP29 is dubbed a finance COP and is expected to explore a fair and ambitious new collective quantified goal on climate finance adequate to the agency and the scale of the climate problem, taking into account the needs and priorities of developing countries. The President will address the COP29 plenary session. Cabinet received a report on His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa's state visit to China and the attendance of the Forum on Africa-China Cooperation Summit held in Beijing, China, which was presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Dr. Frederick Shah. His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, undertook a successful state visit to China at the invitation of his Chinese counterpart, President Xi Jinping, from the 28th of August to the 3rd of September 2024. The state visit was followed by the summit, which was held from the 4th to the 6th of September 2024 in Beijing, China. The President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, also had the opportunity to visit his former college, the Nanjing Army Command College, and held a meeting with the Secretary of the Jiangsu Communist Party of China, His Excellency Xin Changxi. He concluded the state visit in Beijing by holding bilateral meetings with his counterpart, His Excellency President Xi Jinping, the Chinese Premier, His Excellency Lin Guang, and had further engagements with Chinese investors. The Chinese leadership undertook to broaden and deepen collaboration with Zimbabwe across multiple sectors, including investment, trade, infrastructure development, mineral resources extraction, renewable energy, and the digital economy. The two leaders witnessed the signing of 17 legal instruments of cooperation, which included 14 MOUs and 3 letters of exchange. The nation is advised that on the 5th of September 2024, His Excellency the President Dr. Idi Mnangagwa attended the opening ceremony of the FOCAC Summit and delivered a speech that focused on how China and Africa could nurture and strengthen relations. The President Dr. Idi Mnangagwa also attended the high-level meetings on state government and made a presentation in which he outlined his vision of an independent development path for Africa and the global south without undue foreign influence, and called for the removal of sanctions on Zimbabwe. On the 6th of September 2024, the President Dr. Idi Mnangagwa attended the 8th Conference of Chinese and African Entrepreneurs, in which he delivered a speech marketing Zimbabwe as a country with vast business opportunities. Key outcomes of the FOCAC Summit included the adoption of a declaration that focused on jointly building a high-level China-Africa community with a shared future, fostering synergy between high-quality Belt and Road cooperation and the goals of the African Union Agenda 2063 and the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, building a strategic framework for joint action for deepening dialogue among cultures and civilizations. The head of state also adopted the Beijing Action Plan 2025 to 2027, which focuses on 10 partnership actions. The Honorable Vice President, retired Colonel KCD Mohadi, presented a report on the visit he undertook to Malawi on the occasion of the centenary celebrations of the Church of Central Africa General Assembly held on the 25th of August 2024. Prior to the attendance of the Church of Central Africa Presbyterian General Assembly centenary celebration, the Vice President had an opportunity to tour one of the largest crocodile farms in Malawi, the Crocodile Farm in Salima district. Of special note was the adoption of technology in crocodile farming techniques and the production processes at the farm, which has more than 15,000 rabbit hogs. The Vice President highlighted that Malawi and Zimbabwe have an opportunity to collaborate and share expertise and markets for the crocodile skin value chain. Meanwhile, the centenary celebration drew Church of Central Africa congregants from Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, and the Presbyterian leaders from South Africa, Canada, Netherlands, Ireland, and Scotland, among others. The celebration also had prayers for Malawi, Zambia, Mozambique, South Africa, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. The Vice President paid a courteous call to the President of the Republic of Malawi, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, where discussions on the continued collaboration between the two countries took center stage, with emphasis being on the implementation of MOUs that have been concluded by the two respective countries. The Honorable Vice President, retired General Dr. CGDN Chiwenga, presented a report on the 19th edition of the Confederation of India Industry India-Africa Business Conclave, which the Vice President attended from the 20th to the 22nd of August 2024 in New Delhi, India. The purpose of the visit was to market business opportunities in Zimbabwe and investment opportunities, to follow up on the pending MOUs as well as to strengthen India-Zimbabwe relations. During the inaugural session, the Honorable Vice President stressed the need for increased cooperation given the country's present chairmanship of SADC, its centrality in the region, and also the Africa Continental Free Trade Area membership. He also flagged opportunities for investment in Zimbabwe's various economic sectors during the country's focus session, and investors expressed interest to collaborate with Zimbabwe in areas of space industry, telemedicine, artificial intelligence, and digital health. The Vice President underscored Zimbabwe's commitment to continue conversations with the prospective investors, the need for follow-ups and implementation of agreed MOUs. The Vice President held meetings with various prospective investors focusing on the following areas: solar and hydro energy investment, mining, Wanke project, the industrial park for cotton value addition, and development of the beef sector through the Cold Storage Commission and the water supply schemes, among other areas. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for presenting today's cabinet highlights. We now move to the first round of 3 questions emanating from today's cabinet highlights. Then we'll ask Honorable Ministers to respond to those questions. So let's start. Yes, sir.
Chawanda Bruce, ZBC. My question is directed to the Minister of Energy. I've heard the projects which were presented that most of them they are above 90% in terms of progress. How many megawatts are we expecting from those projects, and do we have timelines when they will be on board?
Yes.
Tafara Mugwara from Shinwa News Agency. Tafara Mugwara from Shinwa News Agency. My question is directed to Honorable Minister Frederick Shaba pertaining the 17 agreements that were signed during His Excellency's recent state visit to China. My question is, could you please shed more light on the 17 agreements and what they mean to China-Zimbabwe relations?
Yes.
Thank you, Taku Chiambagu in our TV. My question can be answered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs or Professor Murira, since they were accompanying the President. You stated that the President highlighted that Africa should have an independent development path. But in recent years, we've seen a lot of influence from China. Specifically for Zimbabwe, we see a lot of investment coming in from China. Some pressure groups have been saying China is now determining the path that, as Africa, we are taking. What's your take on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much for those questions. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first question is to the Minister of Energy and Power Development. In terms of the 100-day cycle projects, how many megawatts are we expecting, and also the timelines in terms of the implementation? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Minister. And we have a number of projects that we reported on, and not all of them are generating power. Some of them will be consuming power. We have the Chitulipas, which is in North South, Bedbridge district. It is going to be generating 120 kilowatts. 120 kilowatts, and it's going to benefit 25 families, an irrigation scheme, and a few other projects like in schools and also a business center. We also have within Chabi project, which is a grid extension project in Kai District North. It's a project which is meant to benefit institutions in that area, the primary school, the secondary school, the business center, the clinic, and a few other installations like for water. We also have the Matsetsa Grid project, which is in Buhera district, and this one is being done by REF, and is going to be giving out in that community 120 kilowatts. And then the other project, this one is the fourth one. This one is the community solar project. This one is also funded by REF and also by UNDP, and it's also a 120 kilowatt solar PV generator, which is also going to benefit the community in that area. And then the last one is the Great Zimbabwe Hydro Power Project, which is a 5 megawatt project. All these projects are envisaged to be online by the end of September to the beginning of October. So we're almost done with all these projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The other two questions are to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade on the 17 MOUs. Tafara wants to know, perhaps if you could provide further detail in terms of the impact and meaning to China-Zimbabwe relationship. And the second question on the Zimbabwe-China relationship is with respect to the independent development path with regards to China's influence on Zimbabwe. So Minister Shaw, if you can respond to the two questions.
Thank you very much, Minister Mswire. Let me say that indeed the President had a very successful state visit to the People's Republic of China, and that during that state visit, a lot of issues were discussed, as would happen between countries that relate to each other very well on the multilateral level, even at bilateral levels. So, as a result, during that visit, there was an occasion where some kind of synthesis had to happen. And during that synthesis, some 15 MOUs were signed, and some 3 other agreements were also signed. Some of the agreements which were signed were to do with continued cooperation between the People's Republic of China and the Republic of Zimbabwe. As you know, that was a very strategic partnership over the years. And some of the MOUs which were signed include the recapitalization and upgrading of the national railways of Zimbabwe. You will all be aware now that, in fact, the NRZ is not really functioning. So it was being explored how the Chinese companies could participate in the recapitalization process and upgrading of the NRZ. Then you are also aware that we are building a new city in Mount Hamden, and a number of structures have to come up in Mount Hamden in support of that initiative of building a new city. And one of the MOUs related to a continued presence of assistance from the Chinese in the construction of some structures in Mount Hamden. Particularly, we are hoping that we can rope in the Chinese in the construction of offices, office blocks in the new city. And once you have a parliament, you must have some supporting ministries nearby, and particularly Justice Ministry, Foreign Affairs Ministry, Finance Ministry, and so on. There will be need to have those ministries constructed in Mount Hamden. So an MOU was signed, which will look at the possibilities along these lines. And also the other one, which I think is very important, you will all agree that the RG Mugabe International Airport, which is now almost complete in terms of its construction, is located in an area that is very constricted. It cannot expand anymore if we wanted to continue to expand it. So there is need to look at other possibilities of improving airports in Zimbabwe. So one particular airport was zeroed in, which is Charles Prince Airport, so that it can also be developed to the same standard as the RG Mugabe Airport, or even bigger, because it has land around it. And those responsible, the Minister of Transport, have scouted around it, and they've seen that there is land. If the land is owned by people, they will negotiate to see how they can acquire that land, buy that land from those people in order to enable this project to be done. Then the other MOU also dwelt on the irrigation facilities. You know that for Zimbabwe to be self-sufficient in grain or whatever crops, there is need to have very developed irrigation facilities. Yes, we do have a very sizable number of dams in our country, but they need to be modernized, to be upgraded, and to always be spot on in terms of ensuring that we are able to grow crops, whether there is El Nino or not. There is also an MOU which was signed, which seeks to look at how we can enhance solar energy to complement whatever facilities we have in terms of energy production, and it will be looking at possible rural solar facilities for energy. And the Chinese are very good at this, and they will also be invited to come and play a part in order to develop this particular option for solar. The construction of the solar energy processes will be good even for farmers who are already who already have some farm mechanizations, but which require electricity in rural areas and so on. Then maybe another one of interest you may want to look at is the rehabilitation of the National Sports Stadium. You all know the state of the National Sports Stadium and how it has been unable to accommodate or to host certain matches. So we are going to be looking at its rehabilitation, and we'll be working with the Chinese in this regard. For a long time, there's been a talk about constructing a railway line between Harare and Chitungwiza. So this possibility was also discussed, and an MOU was signed, which will lead to this. This is a program and a project which will help a lot the residents of Harare and Chitungwiza. Generally speaking, one of the MOUs also addressed a disease which I think my colleague Minister of Health will probably help to elaborate it. But there will be need for the control and the elimination of schistosomiasis. And in this regard, we will be cooperating with the Chinese, who have successfully conquered this particular disease. The question of Digital Zimbabwe project, phase 1. This, I'm sure that Minister Mugwira will elaborate on this. But there was an MOU which was signed for this purpose. Of course, this is very important for Zimbabwe. It doesn't mean that we are going to copy what the Chinese are doing. We are going to tailor ours to our own needs and our own capabilities, possibilities. And we will, as you will hear from Minister Mugwira, will be marveling as we do this, in the Education 5.0, which means that we will be doing the improvements ourselves, wherever it is and whatever it is. I think by way of some extra information, this should be enough.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. He also asked Professor Mugwira to add. Professor Mugwira, do you want to add something else in addition to what Dr.
Thank you,
Shah
Chairman.
said?
Thank you, Chairman. I think Honorable Minister Shah covered quite a lot. I just want to make a very few interventions, only one intervention. That when we ask about independent development partners, it doesn't mean that you do it alone. It means you take the decision yourselves. For example, we are independent to collaborate with whoever we want to collaborate with. And while we are doing that, we are independently making those decisions about our pathway. And in this case, for example, Minister Shah talks about our cooperation in science and technology and education. For the first time, we signed an MOU in higher education, also in ICT that he talked about Digital Zimbabwe. These are choices that we make. We were never forced to adopt those things. We adopted them according to what we want and according to how we want this country to develop. I hope it clarifies something. Because Africa, we are not children. We are independent. We make decisions. We cannot be told cooperate with that one, not that one, that one, not that one. No, we move with others, but making independent decisions on who to move with. I think that is very important, because sometimes people treat Africa like children. Oh, we are being taken by who? We cannot be taken by anyone. We are here, and we will stay, but we will make those decisions that are necessary for us to develop. So I think it is very important. We are not walking alone, but we choose who to walk with. That's where the independence is. So in terms of Digital Zimbabwe, as you know, the enabler of communications, the enabler of development is ICT as a technology. It's a communication technology. And one of the programs that we will be doing together is enhancing the communication technology in this country, thereby accelerating the development of this country, working with the people of the Republic of China. So I thought this would add to what Honorable Shao has asked me to do. I thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Prof. Over to Dr. Bishwai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ministers, for responding to those questions. We now move to the last round of 3 questions, again, emanating from today's current highlights. We will then ask Honorable Ministers to respond. Yes.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. My name is Mokuze Shimela from the Herald. My question is directed to Minister Moyo about the food distribution, the grain distributions. How many people have so far benefited? And for the cash transfer that you were talking about, how much has been dispersed to date?
Thank you very much. Any other question or observation? Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Chief. The question is to Honorable J.G. Moyo. In terms of food distribution, how many people have benefited so far? And also in terms of cash transfers, how many beneficiaries have received the assistance? Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, colleague, for asking that question. The first 3 months, we were able to distribute to 6.1 million people in the rural areas. The selection process was undertaken by all our villages, and the villages are approximately about 35,000. And we used their selection methods, yes, validated by our own people, but we did not want to leave anyone behind. And we thought that the villages and the community knew who was vulnerable and who was not vulnerable. So once they selected, we distributed. We overlapped. We were not able to finish to distribute to those 6.1 million people within the 3 months. And in the first month of the second tranche, we started by finishing the distribution to those wards which had been left, and to make sure that no one is left behind. And in the second tranche, which we have started distributing, we are distributing to a target of 6.2 million in the rural areas. And this target, we are giving 3 months, everywhere where we go, we give a 3 months tranche to an individual at 7.5 kgs per individual. So an individual gets 22.5 kgs for the 3 months. And we don't discriminate between old, young, infants. If you have a 1 week old child, that child gets also the same as the adult. The cash transfer, as has been said in the brief by our chair, we are starting this week, and our target is 1.7 million Zimbabweans in the urban areas. And we are finalizing the selection processes, which again is community-based. We look at the communities, we are helped by those who live in the communities to identify those who must be given food. But of course, there has been a scientific analysis as to who in each urban area, what percentage do we give to those who are vulnerable, say in urban area 1 versus urban area 2, and with percentages. And those percentages are what guides the selection process. If you, in your area, we target 4% or 50% of the people in that ward, then you go and select those 40% or 4%, and we leave it to the community to say who are those 40%. It's not us who go and determine who are 40% or what 4%, and that is the selection criteria that we use. And our target is 1.7 million. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, colleagues, we've come to the end of